Well, hello, this is King Mackeral. I am real improvement. Like to do fishing, kind of trying to start some videos. So this will be my inaugural rig setting up. This is going to be going over titanium for kingfish. This is what I'm using. Titanium can be very expensive, but it's what I've been able to find so far. It actually has some good properties. It doesn't kink. Doesn't break as easy when it kinks. You can kink it and break it. I did find that out. I got this on clearance at one of our local tackle shops. Normally it was like $37. I got it for $18. So you can find that. This is also 30 pound. The piece I'm starting off with, I'm using a white background because it is very hard to see on anything brown. This is 30 pound. And we're just going to make it for a pogie. And the way I'm doing this one, I'm also using Tsunami size 14, 77 pound swivels. Okay, they're really tiny for kingfish. I like to keep it smaller. And I'll be using diamond copper double sleeves. These are not so much to actually hold part of our things, but it's just kind of an insurance policy. Size 4 treble hooks, 2 of them. And this is what I call an insurance policy one for pogies. This is a size 8 4-time strong mustad. That's what I like to use on all these, is size 4 4-time strong mustad or owner. Choose your pick. You can go with whatever one you think isn't going to straighten out. I've had them straighten out, so I start staying away from those brands. And this little one here, as small as it is, believe it or not, has actually held for some very large kingfish that would have missed everything else, but that was back there and it really wasn't noticed. So starting off with about a 40-inch piece of wire. And the first thing I'm going to do, I don't actually start making any cuts until I've started making my loops. And I think I was watching Captain George Labonte do this, and it's kind of where I got the idea. You're going to have to make sure you have plenty of these little crimps. These are the smallest ones. These are that I could find, at least. These are 0.08. They come with a 0.6. The smaller you can find, the better, especially if you're using very fine wire. So the first thing I'm going to do, get out my leader wire, and I'm going to get at least one of these out here. I do have to watch out. I do have a cat that loves to help me do this. It's my cat. And he loves to play with my leader as I'm doing this. So I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to loop it. Hopefully make sure everything's clear. Loop it. Go back through. Get a loop like that. And you're going to loop it through that. Sometimes it'll slip through, like it did there. And I'll go through again. I'm going to make sure it's like this. And start pulling it into as tight of a knot as you can. It's up to you how tight of a knot, but I like to get it fairly tight. Okay? Then you're going to go back through this loop. Careful not to stick your fingers, because that tag end can be very sharp. And you can't tighten that down anymore. You could, but then it deforms. It's going to look like that. And one last pass, and this is where it gets tougher, through it. And let it, don't try and straighten it out, let it go through straight like that. And it should look like that. Now I got to go through the other end, put my crimp on. And the crimps I'm using, they're the micro crimps from Walmart, just a jeweler's crimp or beater's crimp, whatever. It costs like $7 or $8. But I'm going to get it down here, and I'm trying to keep myself out of the shot, but every once in a while it's going to happen. You can go back through that, bring it up as close as you can. With these doubles, what I like to do is, for me, come up on the high side, and I'm going to crimp it down tight as I can. Really all this is doing is making sure that this doesn't come back out. I have tugged on this very, very hard, and it does not come undone. This is just kind of your insurance policy to say, hey, let's make sure it doesn't come undone. And unlike metal, or the stainless steel, you can't turn it, make the crank it off. That will not. Unfortunately, titanium, you will lose it, and as expensive as it is, I try not to use too much. Now I'm going to figure out how long do I really want to make my leader. I used to go really long. Instead, I'm kind of making it, oh, it's a little over 12 inches. I don't need a lot. I'm going to clip this, put it where I can see it. Hopefully a cat doesn't come grab it. Make sure you put your crimp on there. I don't know how many times I have started making these, and these are not something you make on water. I've heard that before, and it's the truth. You cannot make these on the water. This is if you're going to do tournaments or kingfish with this, you're going to have to take the time at home. You can knot it, but it is, I've seen it, I'd heard it was ugly, and yes, I tried it, it's ugly. It's too big. So you can if you really want to. I always have that problem right there. Same thing, pull it down tight, and I try and get my knots as small as I can. Same thing, go back through that loop. I'm trying to do this as fast as I can. I really don't want to cut through here. Toughest part for me on that third one, take a pair of pliers just to hold it because it's so tiny. Go back through. For the third, you can do just 2 if you want. I haven't noticed a difference yet between 2 and 3. Now that it's on there, fold it back on itself. And you can, at this point in time, you should have already, if you were going to put a flash on or anything else, you should have already done it. You can untie the knot. It really doesn't make a huge difference that I've seen. It just doesn't look as pretty. Go through here, crimp it, get it down tight. Unlike mono, you don't have to worry about cutting it. And cut off your tag end. Okay, and there's just our start. Now we'll put our stingers on. Don't have to start putting your crimp on this one yet. You still have an open end. Make sure you go through the hook, not through the other line. Otherwise it really gets funny. It does not like to lay right on the fish. And how I measure out how far I'm going to have the first from the second, see, I kind of just help it along. My way to go from the first to the second is I'll use my palm. I figured that's about the same. My palm is about the size of the pogies I really like using around here. Every once in a while I get a bigger pogie and he starts having a little bit of extra line sitting behind him. As I do this, once again, I just use this just to kind of hold it so that I can, it's a little slick. One of the neat things about titanium too that I found is it really is stretchy, which is weird, but it's nice. Gives that little extra. Big King just smacked you hard, and you can actually have a little bit extra. It's not going to just snap. So once again, take it like this, bend it down. I need reader glasses because I'm blind. Get it in there. One of the guys that actually talked to me about this was at a redfish competition. It's a local captain here, real good guy. His name's Steve Grant. This is in Jacksonville, Florida. I was asking about king fishing because he does the tournament, so he was one of my other buddies. But he was one who said, you know, titanium, I like it, it's stretchier, it doesn't kink. Of course, he works for Diamond Fishing Products. And I was like, yeah, kind of expensive. He said, yeah, I guess that is kind of a thing. I get all I want. I'm like, yeah, I don't. I gotta buy it. So now I'm gonna figure out, here's my, how I'm gonna hook my pogie. And I'm gonna want my other hook right about here. So I'm figuring this is my hand's about the size of the pogie I want, so I want the loop right about there. So I'll cut here, and that'll be the piece for my insurance policy. Don't forget this, which I almost always forget. If you can find the singles, a number 1 or a number 2 for one of the other companies, I can't remember which one it was. I had the package, but it was nice too. So you can bring this all the way down, give yourself that big old loop. Loop it through. Use your hand. See, nice thing is that loop can move. Figure out where you want. Try that again, make it where you can see. Front, tail, bring it down. Word of caution, hey, if you have a cat, make sure he's not grabbing the other end of that, putting a hook in your foot, hand, whatever, or himself. Go up through. So if you cut it a little short and you get yourself a little close, as long as you can get the 2, you're actually going to be fine. I went out a couple weeks ago and had sharks, lovely sharks here in Florida, come up and they mangled what I felt would have been mangled some of my rigs. I was using steel and titanium, kind of testing this, and my titanium ones, my buddies that were fishing with me, like, oh man, those are ruined. I pulled up the titanium ones. Nope. After a shark had just destroyed the metal one, the stainless steel one. Titanium was fine. I was able to fish it with full confidence. Okay, clip it up. Now once again, now I keep this little one, I keep it a little closer. I don't give it as much room. So it's just kind of my little insurance. He hit the tail. I know everyone's had a short strike. You're like, how did they miss? And it just kind of, I don't typically actually lock that one into the bait fish. I let it swing in the back. And one of my wife's first kingfish she ever got, turns out it was a short striker, and I had one of these on it. Well, he'd swiped at the pogie, and that's the one that caught him. Because he'd cut the tail, but managed to stick his head right near that one. And sure enough, brought him in. He wasn't a big king, but I've had some ones that we turned in for the tournament, same thing. So, bring it down, as small as I can get it. You can go smaller, but it gets really, really tough to do that around. And don't forget those ends are sharp, and the more you're playing with this, the more likely you are to stick yourself. Bring it down. Crimp, crimp. Get it off. Don't forget that. Once again, I just almost did. Now I'm going to figure where I want this, and sometimes I'll also play with this as how do I want that to swing? Do I want one where I could stick it in, or do I want them to lay flat? You just have to play which side you would want to put this on your bait fish, depending upon what you're using. But you see how much closer I'm putting this? It's really not going to stick in the bait, in the pogie, but I want it to swing out a little bit and be right there. So yeah, that's about where I'd want it. nice and close. And I just do this to hold it so it makes it easier. And you gotta be careful. If you do twist and kink this, slow down to go back. I did. This is where I found it would break if you kinked. I was like, oh, it don't look that bad. I tugged on it, and sure enough, she broke. Okay, I'm going to have to cut this back a little bit. I hate wasting titanium, as expensive as it is, but sometimes that is what happens. And hopefully this didn't take up too much of your time watching this. If you learned something, great. It's always a way I like to improve things. With real improvement, I'm always improving. So, fit it on your hand size pogie, head, tail. A little bit wider in their head, but either way, they should catch one of them. And if they strike for the tail and miss, got one to catch them. So thank you for watching. You enjoy. I'll try to do other interesting stuff that helps people improve. And you have a great day.